All right, good morning, everyone. Melissa here, just waking up. What is up? So today I am headed to work, and then I have a very cool sportsman banquet to go to. So this is something I grew up in. I grew up in the hunting and fishing stuff with my dad and my brother. So I may even, who knows, see people that I remember from growing up. So my dad was very well known in the hunting arena, and I'm looking forward to going to this tonight. Hopefully, I'll win a bow and arrow. There'll be a bunch of raffles, bunch of prizes. I'll have videos about this later. What I want to talk about is last night I went to a small group, and it was it was so different. It was such a good group. Um, I went there, had a great guy in charge of the hospitality. I mean, him and his wife were just like, thank you so much for coming. We've been wanting to do things like this. We've been wanting to, get this up and off the ground even more. They did this last year. They opened up their home. This has been something they prayed for to really want to have just small community in a huge church. So he's got the gift of hospitality, no question about it. And so different, so different. I mean, he was like, this is God's group, this is not my group. And it wasn't like a quiz, like whether you make it or not, answering the questions. Casual conversation, how did you get saved? Where you're from, that kind of thing. It wasn't a judgmental environment, which I appreciate so much. And then I had mentioned to the group what had happened in the last group. And honestly, they were like, oh my gosh, are you serious, Melissa? And I'm like, yeah, I just got a text today that basically I wasn't welcome at their group with no explanation. And like I said, this was a group that had just started on the Super Bowl night, so there wasn't a Bible study. It's not like, wait a minute, you don't believe like we do. It's not like, oh, wait a minute, you have, teaching that's not correct and you're influencing people with teachings that are wrong. I mean, I even then, there is room for correction if I was, right? So I don't know what this particular person's problem is. I really don't. And so I had shared prayer, needing help with a, situation with looking for connections to get a private deal with a car. And they're like, yeah, let's connect you with so and so, and they probably have a car to, a used car or something, or know people who have a used car. I had mentioned this in the other group in a text, and he was all offended. I'm not going to mention that in a group. This is a need, guys. And back in the day when the church was doing things right, I should say, there was no need. When anybody had a need, they all helped in, they all pitched in. There was no lack, right? And that is how a family is supposed to be. So they were just like, oh my goodness. I mean, like, so it's not the whole church's fault, guys. It's, there's people in the church who build and there's people who tear down. So I had mentioned this to another guy. I'm also in their group. And he's like, are you sure there wasn't a misunderstanding? And I'm like, oh no, there was no misunderstanding. None. I had gone there. I didn't even say much. I just shared my testimony as everyone else did. I didn't, I mostly watched the Super Bowl. I saw Bon Jovi. I had commented about someone that I didn't even recognize him. I maybe said 3 or 4 words. I mean, I didn't say much at all. So I'm thinking it couldn't have been that. It must have been a text saying, I could use some help with a vehicle, blah, blah, blah. So maybe there was a misunderstanding in that or some judgment, but again, that's not someone's place to say you are not welcome to this group. So I have a problem with that because I am pretty grounded as a Christian, right? And I sent out a text. You could go either way and you could say, well, Christ took a bunch of crap. I could be like that, or you could confront someone. And I chose to confront him. And I was like, you know what? You better be real careful, Nick, that you do not make another Christian stumble. I mean, that is very scriptural too, guys, to confront people. And, I'm grounded. I know who I am in Christ. I know my identity. It doesn't really matter, and I don't really care what people think about me. But if you have other Christians coming into the church and they're trying to know Christ and they want to be a part of a church, and you're like, well, you're not welcome to this group for whatever reason, that is not acceptable. It's just not. Because we are to be one in Christ. There is unity in the church. We are to work toward unity. We are to work toward being there for one another. When you pick people in your life, guys, you want people who are there for you. Somebody told me that a long time ago. Melissa, she said, you could fit into any church. You really could, a mainstream church. And she said, but you want people who are there for you. And that's what you're looking for. So when you have somebody who thinks it's his job to be running the whole entire conviction band of what's right and what's wrong and putting his conviction on you, you need to say something, ladies. So bring it out in the open. Let other people in the church know. Hold him accountable. It's not acceptable for what he did. And, it's not his place. It's just not. So this is, something the pastor invited me to. The pastor said, we're glad to have you. We want you to come in. Welcome to the groups. So like I said, in a church you have people who build, people doing the work of God. I had a guy come over Saturday, great guy, helped me with my van. I'm headed to work. Other people building you up in the church, praying for you. And then you have those who want to tear you down. So you don't tell somebody, we're going to kick you out and we hope the best for you. No, you don't do that. So I sent an email saying this is going viral, this video about you, and good luck in life. I hope the best for you. So do you see those two different things? One is against somebody and one says you're for somebody. So they don't go hand in hand. And I don't care how people put it, what their smooth words are, how their swelling words want to sound nice when they're actually being freaking rude to you. They don't go hand in hand. That fruit does not go hand in hand. So you want to come out with it and say, oh, you're kicking me out, and what is your reason, and why do you think that's okay, and what is your particular problem with me? And you just want to come out with it, guys, because we don't even have this in the world of unbelievers for the most part. We don't even have people being this rude on that level. So most of the time, anywhere you go, people are welcoming, people are good to you for the most part, right? So bring it to the light, and say, hey, your conviction, whatever that is not going to burden me. And I said, God's going to deal with you. God will deal with you. And I just don't let people walk on me, guys. I just don't. I've seen too much of it in life. Life is too short. Be around people who enjoy you. And that's what I plan on doing tonight, too. So this will be a great night. I don't eat snake. I don't eat bear, moose, elk. I'm kind of grossed out by that stuff. I do eat deer, so I'm looking forward to having some deer meat possibly, some fellowship in the hunting world, and looking forward to this special guest tonight. And I will be talking about that later. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.